Hi, I'm Debbie Rudd with RRM Design Group. I'm here today with Karen Ty, who's with Tool Design, and we are the consultant team that the city has hired to help you with this project. This is a city project and it's funded by Caltrans. Brian Halverson, who is your planning manager in the community development department at the city, is the project manager for this project. We also have the same presentation in Spanish posted on the website. This presentation will give you an overview of the City of Lompoc's Streetscape and Multi-Modal Improvement Project. After viewing the presentation, we're hoping you will jump online and on the same website and fill out the online survey. And the survey is where you can describe what you would like to see happen on 8th Street and Ocean Avenue. It gives you an opportunity to weigh in on some of these things that we're going to be presenting today. So we're going to focus on four main items today: project overview and goals, existing conditions, and key opportunities that we see for improvement. The project consists of Ocean Avenue, which is Highway 246, this corridor, along with 8th Street, Highway 1 corridor. The primary goals for this project are to improve the safety and comfort for people walking and on bikes, with an emphasis on key crossing points on 8th Street and Ocean Avenue, to identify opportunities for improvements and beautification along 8th Street and Ocean Avenue, and to apply complete street approach, which we'll go over that in future slides. But probably most important is this project is to include the community in the process, so you can help shape the future vision of 8th Street and Ocean Avenue. We are at the beginning of the timeline, and our goal is to be done by January 2022. We'll be taking this to council in January 2022. For community input, there are lots of opportunities to give us input throughout this process. We're on this community online survey box, but there will also be opportunities, future workshops. There'll be city council meetings, planning commission meetings, and a multi-day workshop that you can also weigh in on. So to just start with some of the existing conditions, you know the corridor well. And if we start at the entry points, this is the North Gateway. The entry points into the city are not clearly defined or welcoming. So as people transition from the higher speeds of the rural highways and enter Lompoc, you can't tell that when you're entering Lompoc at all times. As a result, motorists are not alerted to the changing conditions and they continue to drive quite fast. There are four major entry points into the city. On this side, you're seeing the northern entry at La Purísima Road. There is an existing monument on the right side, but cars are typically driving so fast, it's hard to see that monument sometimes. This location has also been brought up in a number of stakeholder meetings that it's a dangerous location in Lompoc. This entrance greets people arriving from both the east on Highway 246 from Buellton and from the south on Highway 1. Some portions of the entrance are unimproved, as shown in the upper right image, and the bottom photo shows the existing Lompoc entry monument. And here is what people see when you enter from the west, from the coast, from the ag lands, and from the base. And again, this entry lacks any clear cues telling drivers that they are entering or leaving the town. A secondary level of entry can also be seen as you come into the old town area of Lompoc. Existing elements like the clock tower, the pedestrian scale lights, the paving all contribute to these visual cues that let you know that you're entering Old Town area of Lompoc. A number of public vacant parcels and their associated street frontages occur along the project corridors. Some are private and some are publicly owned. These vacant lands, some in prime locations, provide opportunity for future revitalization that should be explored as part of this project. Above are some of the vacant parcels that are found along the corridor. In the top left is the corner of Ocean Avenue and 8th Street, a significant corner in the heart of Old Town. The top right is a large vacant parcel on Ocean Avenue at South 5th Street that lacks sidewalks. And the bottom left photo shows an underdeveloped lots adjacent to the Lompoc Theater on H Street.
Thanks, Debbie. So in this section, we're going to talk a little bit about connectivity and what it means for people walking and biking on these two project corridors. But we'll also discuss the opportunities we've seen so far to improve overall connections for all modes of transportation. Now, H Street and Ocean Avenue are fairly wide streets. We have 2 travel lanes in each direction and also a center turn lane. And what this does is create a wide profile of over 50 feet that typically encourages people to drive fast, but also creates an uncomfortable and unsafe environment for people who walk. Now, because Ocean Avenue and H Street are state highways, they were actually originally designed to move traffic through Lompoc, and that included freight trucks as well as people getting to and from work. But as we see Lompoc continue to grow as a destination, what we really want is for both of these corridors to cater more to local residents and improve connections throughout the city. Now, when we look at crossings, Ocean Avenue has several crossing opportunities, but most of these crosswalks are about a quarter mile apart, which is about a 3 to 4 minute walk. And what we know is that long distances between even safe marked crosswalks can be challenging across multiple lanes of fast-moving traffic, which ends up leaving pedestrians feeling inconvenienced and unsafe while walking down both of these corridors. Along the 2 project corridors, there are also several gaps in the sidewalk network. Now, this image that you see on the screen is an especially tough situation where there's actually no sidewalks on either side of Ocean Avenue near 5th Street. On this map, if you look at the pink to purplish dashed lines, it actually shows where all of the currently missing sidewalks exist throughout the city. As you can see, sidewalks exist along most of Ocean Avenue and H Street, but you'll notice that there is an eastern section of Ocean Avenue right here, where there are extensive gaps in the sidewalk network, pretty close to the city boundary. When we take a look at what it's like to bike in Lompoc, we know that the city already has a network of bike facilities. So, I'll just quickly review the 3 types of bike facilities that you see in the city today. There are Class 1 bikeways, which are bike paths that aren't on the street, completely separated from roadway traffic. So think bike trails like you see in the image here. Class 2 bike lanes are on-street bike facilities that are striped with paint. And you can see that there are ones that exist with a painted buffer and just standard bike lanes that don't have the buffer itself. And last, we have Class 3 bike routes. We typically see these on slower streets, but they're shared facilities where bicyclists ride alongside cars. And these routes are identified by either signs or pavement markings. Now, on this map, the solid lines represent existing bike facilities that you'll see in Lompoc today. The dashed lines show proposed facilities. You can see that Lompoc has a pretty good existing bike network by all the green lines that you see, but there really aren't any bikeways along either corridors. You can see that the bike network crosses H Street and Ocean Avenue at a lot of different locations. So for this project, we'll be looking specifically at these cross sections and cross streets, since we know a lot of issues for people who bike happen at intersections. There are proposed Class 3 bike routes on short segments of Ocean Avenue, west of O Street, and on H Street, there are a few gaps, if you look towards the north, that if we filled it in, would be able to really improve connections to Allen Hancock College, as well as Ken Adams Park. Despite there being really alternative routes parallel to Ocean Avenue as well as H Street, we would say that people typically would ride their bikes using the most direct path of travel. So sometimes that means riding on the sidewalk when there aren't any bike facilities that exist. This happens a lot, especially with younger kids, and it really has the potential to create conflicts with people walking. So this specific project aims to create better connections for people to ride their bikes along H Street as well as Ocean Avenue. Now, in order to really improve connectivity for people walking and biking, specifically along these two corridors, we want to take what we call a complete streets approach. And what that refers to is really an approach that looks to create safe, convenient, accessible, and comfortable streets for people of all ages and abilities, but also regardless of how they choose to get around. There isn't necessarily one way to design complete streets because we know each project has to be unique and has to respond to the community context. But instead of having streets that have traditionally prioritized cars, complete streets are comfortable, they're inviting, specifically for people walking and biking. They are accessible, well-connected, and convenient to travel on because they're designed to really be safe and intuitive for all users. A complete street also minimizes conflicts between people who bike and people waiting to get onto transit. Now, making public transit a priority also means providing a place for people to sit that is shaded, well lit, and has timetable information on when buses are coming and departing. Bus shelters themselves can really be unique community landmarks and opportunities for beautification. Complete streets also provide safe and accessible routes to bus stops, including safe ways for people to cross while walking there. But complete streets design also encourages safe driving behavior, creating more predictable movements from motorists. That means clear sight lines and crossings where interactions between users of all modes take place. Landscaping and street trees can also help slow down traffic, reduce mid-block collisions, and really provide a more pleasant driving experience for people who choose to drive. Another element of complete streets is placemaking. Strategies that are used to celebrate and really amplify local culture through welcoming and unique places. They can be temporary installations or even permanent designs, but what they do is really activate the corridor with art, color, plantings, furnishings, and really provides comfortable places for people to gather and also socialize. And the last element of complete streets that we'll touch on is actually green infrastructure, which serves to really capture, clean, and absorb stormwater to replenish local aquifers. They can serve as landscaped buffers between pedestrian, bicyclists, and vehicles. But what they really do is create a beautiful and dynamic place, at the same time reducing urban heat island effect, where places can feel cooler, they increase biodiversity, and really help mitigate against climate change. And now I'll pass it on to Debbie.
Next, we're going to talk about opportunities and examples of some of these opportunities that we see we can employ. Starting with gateways, there are 4 areas that we think gateways could be embellished. Establishing physical gateways can present a sense of place, especially for visitors, and it can reinforce the civic pride for residents. A physical gateway can be complemented with a series of safety features to inform motorists as they come into the city to slow down. A gateway monument can also incorporate digital notification, like the lower right-hand corner shows a regular gateway sign, but then you have a digital or electronic sign that can advertise events or activities that are happening within Lompoc. Gateway features can also include signs, fencing, landscape, traffic calming features, and even the presence of upgraded sidewalks or crosswalks can really create a gateway into the city. The Lompoc theme of arts and flowers could also be incorporated into these gateway features. The other areas we want to look are how to improve sidewalk spaces and pedestrian areas. Improvements to H Street and Ocean Avenue corridors can take cues from Lompoc's existing character. The old town, historic Italian stone pines, the murals, the wine country can all be positive influences and be integrated into the beautification and kind of the theming of Lompoc. Lompoc, the city of arts and flowers, is known for its murals. Identifying opportunity sites and public art funding for additional mural projects should be considered as part of this project. An artist program to paint utility boxes is another way to highlight Lompoc's mural art and flower themes. Increased sidewalk widths and creating areas along the sidewalks can provide space for amenities such as seating, furnishings, planters, bus shelters, and outdoor dining. This could also include parklet relocation of street parking spaces for pedestrian use. Improvements should include pedestrian level lighting, especially at designated crossings. Planting strips, decorative pavers, street lights, all can be part of this beautification. Ocean Avenue and H Street, Highway 1 and 246, are Caltrans state highways. They also are Lompoc's Main Street. Caltrans does offer design guidance to maximize livability and sustainability and multimodal benefits for Main Street communities like Lompoc. Above are examples of other communities that have highways running right through the middle of their downtown. The one on the right, the top left, is in Tahoe City. The one on the right is State Route 65 in Exeter, which is also the host of the Amgen tour. And the Rain Garden in the business district of El Cerrito is in the bottom right. So the other way to look at revitalization is looking at some of the opportunity sites you have in town. The vacant parcels along Lompoc's main streets are prime opportunities for future revitalization. Possible projects could include new private development like restaurants or residential, expansion of community uses like farmers market or community markets, and new events like festivals and outdoor theater and music. Karen will talk about some connectivity within Lompoc.
Thanks, Debbie. So throughout this presentation, we've talked a lot about connectivity. And what we're really looking to do with this project is improve the way people travel along H Street and Ocean Avenue. So I'll spend a few minutes really going through some opportunities that we see to improve connectivity, specifically for people who walk and bike in the area. The example that I'll talk about is Old Town, where there's a ton of locally owned businesses, architecture, beautiful murals, and really speaks to the history of Lompoc Valley. It's a key location where we see a lot of opportunities to improve the way people get to and around the area. So the intersection of Ocean Avenue and H Street is really a key focus of this project. We have a few potential improvements that I'll highlight over the next few slides, but the first one we really wanted to touch upon is high visibility crosswalks, which means adding this zebra striping or continental crosswalk to improve visibility of people walking to drivers. Another example or improvement are curb extensions, where they expand the sidewalk space to really help narrow the roadway and reduce crossing distances for people walking. Flashing beacons are also a really great improvement to pair with high visibility crosswalks as well as curb extensions, but they essentially help improve the safety of people crossing by really indicating to drivers when people are crossing and the fact that they need to yield. So these can, in a lot of instances, be applied to bicycle crossings as well. So we talked a little bit about bikeway facilities earlier, but I wanted to highlight again that improving connectivity, especially for people biking, is a key focus for this project. And we really want to make sure that there are multiple opportunities and options for people to get to and from H Street and Ocean Avenue. So our analysis has shown that there is room for on-street facilities along H Street as well as Ocean Avenue. But we want to make sure that any new on-street bike lanes that go across Ocean Avenue or H Street include intersection improvements to make sure that we're really safely connecting people to the city's existing bikeway network and making them feel safe whenever they're crossing Ocean or H Street. Lompoc has existing bike paths, but they're also isolated from a lot of the other bike lanes and facilities throughout the city. So what we're going to do is explore connecting the Allen Hancock College bike path, which you can see on the photo within this presentation, and to H Street and Old Town, and we'll look at how to connect other bike paths to really existing and proposed facilities throughout the city as well. So this streetscape multimodal improvement plan is still a plan in itself, but what it'll do is help the city in applying for future grants to fund the complete design and construction of these improvements along H Street and Ocean Avenue. This is a list of existing state and federal funding programs that provide support and funding for different types of improvements that will come out of this planning effort. Most of these are for roadway related improvements, but there are a lot of other opportunities for grant funding around community revitalization, beautification, and public art that could also be explored. So now that you have learned about the City of Lompoc's streetscape and multimodal improvement plan, help us learn more about the community's needs for this project as well by participating in our online survey. You can really describe how you use H Street and Ocean Avenue today and mark on a map the places where you don't feel safe or comfortable walking, biking, or taking the bus, and locations where you want to see improvements. So what I'll do right now is really switch gears to show you how that online survey and web map looks like. So if you were to click on the link, it'll take you to this interface, which is really the welcome page. And there are really two options in which you can provide input on this plan. The first, which is really important to us, is the survey itself. Pre-developed questions that will really help us understand what the community needs are regarding these two project corridors. So you can indicate your name and email. That will really help us in terms of keeping track on who's participating in this plan. But if we have any additional follow-up questions, it'd be a great way for us to contact you as well to chat a little bit more of that. But it's optional, and what you can do is click Let's Go, and you'll see that there are a list of questions that we would love to get more information on from residents and visitors of the city. What you can also do is skip ahead to the map by clicking on this link down below. And this is really another interactive opportunity where you can provide location-specific feedback. So, there are three choices when you can indicate when you're walking, when you're biking, improving transit services, and what that looks like for different locations, right? So if I were to drop in a pin right here, it'll mark that location, but it'll also bring up some fields that you can indicate in terms of this is a place that I currently walk to, or maybe don't currently walk to, but you would want to if there were better facilities. And also indicating, specific improvements that you would want to see to make walking a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable. So you can always go back to the legend and select and add additional points of comments and input. And it's a really great way to really pinpoint where you want to see improvements and, specific things that you want the project team to learn and hear from the community. I'll also lastly point out that there is this layers button here, and what you can do is toggle between a hybrid or satellite view of the actual city. So if you zoom in, you can actually see a satellite version, an aerial screenshot of the map and the base map to reflect kind of existing conditions, right? You'll be able to see crosswalks and roadway markings and things like that to represent and showcase the existing conditions of the location that you're trying to pinpoint. So that's about it. I will turn back to Debbie if she has any remaining and closing remarks, but thank you so much for being a part of this workshop and presentation. Again, please help us understand the community needs for these two project corridors by visiting the online map and online survey that I just showcased. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks to all of you for listening to the virtual workshop. Our next step is to ask you to please click on the link below or the link on the screen to take the online survey. You can also find the online survey on the city website, and we'd love if you would sign up on the city website to receive future notifications on this project. We'll only be sending out notifications if there's a meeting or if there's a document for you to look at, and we would love to have your email address to do that. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, there'll be an email address on the website that you can email us for questions.